to the Italian Football Podcast.
Let's talk about Napoli moving forward now, because this win was great, but there is a lot going off the pitch right now at Napoli. And it is a shame, to be honest, because this has been such a historic season that it feels like what is going on with Spalletti and De Laurentiis is at the moment anyway, is spoiling things. And, you know, when these stories started emerging over Spalletti leaving, and you know, I thought at first, I didn't really believe in it that much, to be honest. I thought that this was just your classic Spalletti wanting a pay rise, De Laurentiis playing hardball, you know, stories getting put out in the press from both sides in order, or from Spalletti's side, certainly through his agent and everything, you know, trying to put pressure on De Laurentiis to give him a pay rise. And yes, maybe there was a little bit something in there in terms of, you know, feeling a little bit disrespectful that, you know, his contract was extended by a year via an automated email. There wasn't any congratulations, apparently, from De Laurentiis to winning the Scudetto. He felt like, you know, this is a great achievement that it hadn't been recognised. I thought at first that, yeah, there was probably a bit of that, but I thought it was more down to, you know, this is just negotiations, basically. But now the more that's coming out, and then seeing what Spalletti said last night, he was almost saying goodbye last night. And now I'm thinking, well, actually, maybe there is something more to this now.
Yes, there is more to this. It's obvious that there is more to this. And De Laurentiis has got, I mean, anyone who listens to this podcast and anyone who's followed me through the years about De Laurentiis, I've always said that I think that people in Naples or fans that criticize him are a little bit too harsh, because I think what he's done with Napoli is given them balance and stability, financial one, and been able to win trophies, which is something they've never had in their history. Never. But I wonder if he's starting to show signs of megalomania here, because he is on the verge of losing his sporting director and his championship winning coach here through him being this kind of, you know, pushy, not so diplomatic guy who extends Luciano, you know, activates the option in Luciano Spalletti's contract without informing Luciano Spalletti, which has really ticked him off. And he thinks he deserves a salary increase, Spalletti. And, you know, we know how De Laurentiis is with money. He runs a tight ship, and, you know, I think he has to. Otherwise, Napoli would never be in the position they are. But you have to be a little bit more diplomatic. The season's not even over, and it's starting to look like, you know, like it's imploding, the entire project. And he needs to be careful here, because if it implodes, he is bitten off more than he can chew, because that incredible joy, that happiness, all of that positive energy in Naples towards him for what they've done can easily and quickly swing the whole 180 degrees round the pendulum and become completely toxic. And that is not a situation that he will survive in Naples. They will chase him out of town. They will run him out of town because he's messing with balances here that are far greater than what he can control. Unless he already has a backup plan in place and is just waiting for the season to end before he unveils it. That can also be a possibility here.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because, I mean, if there's one thing about Spalletti is he is quite proactive. He is a very proactive person. So he is somebody that you know, decides to make the change before it's obvious to everyone else. And
no, I'm talking about from De Laurentiis' perspective.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about from De Laurentiis' perspective. I'm wondering whether De Laurentiis has already made the decision. I'm going to get rid of Spalletti, and I've already got a coach lined up who I think is going to be better, is younger. Yeah. Is going to freshen things up.
That's what I'm thinking as well.
That's what I wonder. And maybe maybe we'll be here in 6 months' time saying, you know what, he's made the right decision again, because we were questioning.
Well, exactly.
most people, I know you're probably one of the few ones that didn't, but most people were questioning his decisions last summer.
I thought they were brilliant last summer. I thought they were absolutely spot on. Every single one, to get rid of Koulibaly, Insigne, Mertens, Ruiz was genius, and to get paid as much as he did, financing his entire summer market, maybe even turning a little bit of a profit.
Well, yeah, but the number of people that he got rid of at once, and that's where Napoli stand now. You know, they could lose their coach, they could lose their sporting director Giuntoli, who's built this whole project. You know, everything.
But I wonder. I mean, that's something we'll talk about in the Juventus section. We're hearing things about how Giuntoli that seems less likely now of him going to Juve.
Well, it's because De Laurentiis is holding on to him. Giuntoli and Juventus, I know, I've spoken to people, that is agreed. He's already agreed a contract with Juventus. It's all done. It's all done from the Juventus and Giuntoli side. All done. The salary, everything. It's all done. Giuntoli wants to join Juventus. Everything's sorted from that. And the only thing that's holding it up is Giuntoli agreeing with De Laurentiis about leaving. He's still got a year left on his contract, and De Laurentiis is, you know, he wants, if Giuntoli is going to leave, he wants compensation from Juventus, you know, and so that's the issue with Giuntoli. But you know, then you've got the players as well. You've got Osimhen and Kim. I mean, I think it's if the money is paid up, I think it's inevitable Osimhen leaves, and Kim will Napoli have no power over that because he's got a release clause, and it seems like, you know, there's Premier League teams that will pay that release clause in the first 2 weeks of July. So, you know, I mean, again, it's a lot. It goes back to what I've said. You know, last summer was genius. It was incredible. It paid off, but you can't do that year after year after year, and it's not sustainable. It might work 1 year. It worked last year. It was a perfect storm. They got rid of aging players who were past their best or getting past their best, and everyone that they brought in, it just worked. You know, that doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes it doesn't work.
No, there is a risk involved. There's no doubt that there's risk involved, but I get the feeling that De Laurentiis does have something lined up. And as for Giuntoli, you know, look, Sky were talking about that it seems much less likely that that Giuntoli goes to Juventus now, and that they were talking about the in-house solution at Juventus. They didn't really say anything, so I don't want to interpret or read too much into it. But I couldn't tell if that was from Juventus side or from De Laurentiis side or both. They were very coy on that, at least from what I saw when I was watching Caressa and these guys talk about this. So that depends entirely on what, you know, kind of, you know, Juventus are also in turmoil. So we'll have to wait and see. But to me, it suggests, if I were to, I understand Spalletti. He's turning 65 soon. You know, he has one big contract left in him, one or two, and he wants to make the right choice.
Where does he go, Spalletti, if he leaves, do you think? Tottenham?
No, God, I would never wish that on him.
But do you think he will go there, though?
Oh, I hope not. I think that would be a mistake. I think Spalletti going to Tottenham would be a mistake. I think there are other teams in England that I would rather see him in. But if there is an offer, sure. Well, I mean, they need a sporting director as well. I mean, Spalletti is at the stage in his career where he wants to, you know, he needs to see what the sporting project is. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, look, I think Milan will make it into the top four, you know, but in the end, when everything's said and done, after Juventus penalties handed out. But I think they'll still manage to do that. But I think him at Milan would be fantastic. I think he would be able to develop Milan in a way, and it would be such a revenge on Inter as well, wouldn't it, if he were to go there and do something important there. So I think Milan is
Napoli is definitely one to watch. That's for sure. I'm sure that there'll be plenty more opportunities to discuss. But I mean, from Inter's
I'm thinking De Zerbi could go to Napoli. I can't shake off that feeling more and more. That given how everything looks and given how the wage structure.
De Zerbi's been quite clear that he wants to stay in the Premier League. But you know, I think there are options there. There's Italiano, there's De Zerbi, there's Nagelsmann that's even been mentioned. I'd like to see Nagelsmann and De Laurentiis, two egos there fighting it out. That would be fun.
Well, there's been talk of Conte as well, which I find really, really.
There's even been talk of Klopp as well, which I don't think is possible because his salary is too big. But you know,
but Conte would be fascinating because those two will never agree. That is just a ticking time bomb from day one. But it would be fascinating to see what Conte could do with this squad.
I also think his salary demands are too high as well. But again, we've discussed this about Conte and how if he wants to come back to Italy, he has to.
No, he has to. I mean, regardless of where he goes.
But he needs to take a massive PA decrease.
Well, that's what I mean. Regardless of where he goes,
even more than half is paid.
Oh, without a doubt, he has to. De Laurentiis doesn't break his wage budget for anybody.